Hi, everyone. I'm here today with the extremely talented Justin Clifford. Justin, how are you today? How's it going?
I'm not too bad. Doing all right. How are you doing, Ricardo?
I'm doing great. Um, well, it was great to see you in June where you
Yeah.
put on quite a show in the Super Series. Why don't you, first of all, tell the audience at home what how your training went for the Super Series round one, and then maybe what your little bit about your favorite lifts and some background too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
have at it.
Yeah. My training for the Super Series round one was really just focused on just getting everything as strong as possible and trying to be fast and maintain position through the wrist. Um, probably the trickiest thing. I had just come off of doing a couple of strongman competitions, and so I was able to get a fair bit of grip work in along the months preceding this. But I probably didn't start doing anything super specific, like event specific for it until probably about 5 weeks out. Um, and I was hitting it, maybe I was hitting like one of the competition lifts or a close analog, really only once a week, and then I was kind of alternating between them and just doing general strength work outside of that. So breaking that up over 3 to 5 sessions a week, um, total training time. Um, but yeah, as far as like other favorite lifts, like my biggest thing, like the biggest thing I like about arm lifting is I just really like deadlifting, and these are all deadlift variations. So
They are.
that works well for my biases.
Yeah, well, with an Instagram name like Deadlift Therapy,
Yeah.
um, that goes it goes unsaid, so to speak. So it's funny when before I met you in person, when I first started following you and I saw you on Instagram, I was like Deadlift Therapy. That's my kind of guy right there. This guy likes to pull some weights. So,
Yeah.
and pull weights you certainly can. Um, I think, and maybe I'm biased, but I think your best lift is the double overhand just on a regular bar. Why don't you
Yeah.
tell the people what some of your numbers and goals are for that lift in particular, even though Arm Lifting USA hasn't contested it yet.
Right.
Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah. So double overhand deadlift, my best lift with that, on a deadlift bar, double overhand was 675, pulled conventional, and that was actually more than a couple years ago. So since then, I can consistently get up into the mid 600s without really focusing on the lift that much. It's a bad day if I can't break 585 for at least a double overhand. Um, so most of the time I can get up into the low to mid 600s pretty easily. Getting up to that 675, um, that was that was a time when I was really peaking my deadlift already, um, and my speed off the floor I think made the biggest difference with that. I've also I have pulled 585 for five on like a stiff IPF Alico power bar.
And
Um,
Justin, just to interrupt, I want to
yep,
clarify for the viewers at home. This is without a hook grip, everyone. This is
this is thumb like you would
yeah,
normally grab a stick like that.
right.
Um, yeah, so there's no like hooking that onto my thumb. Like this is just me squeezing. Um, so I was able to pull 585 for five on a stiff IPF Alico bar, around the same time that I did the 675 or the 675 on the deadlift bar. I've also pulled, I want to say it was 625 for a double on like a 30 millimeter bar, just in my garage. That was just on a whim. I haven't truly maxed that one out, but yeah, so that's fun. My background with that is like I have issues with my collarbone from a fracture that I did doing judo like 15-20 years ago, and so like I can't externally rotate my left shoulder enough to do like a mixed grip like supinated on my left side. I always
Mhm.
have to go supinated on my right side if I'm going to pull in like a powerlifting competition, and that just kind of got irritating because it was asymmetrical. So I would just do all of my deadlift double overhand until I couldn't, and then I just throw straps on for the top sets. Um, And I still use straps regularly. Like I'll use straps every deadlift workout pretty much, unless I forget them. But doing all of my warm up sets and everything that I can do double overhand paid off.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show, especially for some of our newer arm lifting, both viewers or competitors that are new that maybe haven't dabbled in other strength sports. I know the answer, but I don't think some of our newer people realize just how strong some of the existing, that's code for older people are. Like I
Yes.
don't think I just don't think they realize how much strength some of these people have. And you are a prime example of a very strong human being who is now competing in arm lifting and having quite a lot of success. So can you talk about your overall training and talk about specifically, because I imagine from watching all your clips, and I know you compete in Highland Games and Strongman, and you just said you did powerlifting. Talk about overall body strength and why that's important for you.
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna flip the question a little bit. I'm gonna approach that first from a health standpoint, right? So I'm a physical therapist by trade. So when we're looking at the literature and we're looking at physical fitness and strength in particular as a measure for overall health, right? It's like this can be an indicator for somebody's overall strength or overall health. One of the things that we'll commonly see in the medical literature is grip strength is closely correlated with all-cause mortality, which means anything that can kill you. What seems to happen is the stronger your grip is, the less likely those things are to kill you, whether that's diabetes, motor vehicle accidents, heart disease, gunshot wounds, etc. However, it's not because you trained your strong grip. The grip is just an easy surrogate that you can measure for whole body strength, right? And so it's a matter of, hey, can you actually use your body? How often have you been doing that? And how metabolically healthy are you because you have a healthy amount of muscle on there? Obviously, you'll get diminishing returns if you're getting up into the 400-pound range and you're packing on meat like one of those cows with the enzyme that's disabled or that gene that's disabled, right? You get diminishing returns after a certain point. But like if I were to shoot for a 700-pound double overhand deadlift, and I don't know that I'll ever get there just because I'm getting old and goals are changing. But the only way I'm going to get that is if I can pull 700 really, really fast a lot of times without doing double overhand. So if I'm letting my grip limit my progression on the rest of the lifts, I'm probably doing myself a disservice. The vast majority of my training is one or two big whole body movements where I exert a high level of force for one or two hard sets. And then I'll drop back down. Typically what that looks like lately is I'll just take a plate off. So I might have up to seven plates or something like that on the bar. I'll take a plate off, and then I'll just do a few drop sets somewhere. I might do one AMRAP set, just pull as many reps as possible and just be done. Or I might do multiple sets, to a given rep range, or if I want to be fancy and I'm prepping for something. But like after that 675, I strapped up and pulled it for 8 reps as fast as I could with straps. I was a little annoyed that I didn't get 10, but whole body strength really, really factors into this. Part of this that you can't forget is that the brain is directing the muscle to do stuff. And if we look at the literature around, say, like blood flow restriction training, right? This is another thing that's becoming more and more popular in rehab settings, and it's gaining some traction a little bit more in performance settings. And it's been around a little while, so people have kind of gotten used to it. And a lot of people don't have great access to it, but you look at the literature behind it, and you see like, okay, this low load training, right? I'm using like 20-30% of my 1 rep max, and I'm doing sets of 30 and then 15, 15, 15. And I'm getting the same muscle gains as I am if I'm, lifting, 5x5 with 75%. Well, ish. Yeah. Like we see similar tissue level adaptations, but what we don't see is the neural coordination of being able to turn on all those muscles at once really fast. They're kicking in with the BFR. They're kicking in at the end of a set. I don't care how well I lift rep 30.
Yeah.
I care about rep 1. And can I get all those motor units kicking in on that first rep as that bar is coming off the ground? That's where I care about it. And the only reason I do higher reps in that case is so that, one, I can be successful with the first rep, right? And then I do those higher reps so that I'm stimulating those higher level motor, or those larger motor units at the end. It's a little bit easier on my body than just maxing out every single time. Smart training, think about it. Don't max out all the time, guys. So yeah, whole body strength, build it.
Yeah, I mean, I can, with my 2 events of 2020, I can talk about all-cause mortality a little bit myself.
Yes.
From the first-hand point of view, and my heart surgeon and then my neurologist both said if I wasn't in the shape I was in, I wouldn't be there talking to them at either one. So I am living proof of just that, that there is truth in the literature for sure. But hey, why don't you give some advice, Justin, to, let's say, someone who's listening to this has never been to a competition. What advice would you give a new or first-time person?
As a competitor?
As just someone who's trying to gain grip strength or be a competitor, sure. Either one.
Yeah. I would say, pay attention to when your hands are being used. There are a lot of opportunities to get in meaningful work that don't require special equipment, that don't require fancy programming or a ton of time. If you're building whole body strength, you should be using your hands. If you are benching, you should be squeezing that bar as hard as you can. If you're doing the Olympic lifts and you're carrying around bumper plates, you have an opportunity to pinch grip them. If you can't pinch grip the 45s, pinch grip the 25s, right? Or pinch grip both the 45 with 2 hands as you carry it to the bar or something, right? Get that exposure in frequently so that you get used to squeezing hard. But if you let that take over your entire workout, then you're majoring in the minors, right? And your workout's going to suffer. The other thing I would say is don't beat yourself up. People tend to, especially, they'll buy like the hard grippers. They'll go buy like a Captains of Crush level 2. And it's like, hey, I can, move it a couple millimeters. Like, is this good for strengthening? You're just going to blow yourself up. Your tendons are going to just get so super pissed at you. Give yourself time with this stuff. Build up that whole body strength, and the grip will come along with it. And the other piece with that is don't try to train through hand pain. And this is something that I think Apollon brought my attention to it initially, but kind of speaking to the brain and that the neural drive, right? The brain has to command the muscle in order to do stuff. There's a concept, you can look it up on Wikipedia or whatever, but if you've ever studied neuroscience in any fashion, you're probably familiar with what's called the sensory and motor homunculus, right? It's just basically like a representation of like a human body that's like mapped out on the side of the brain that is dedicated to it. And it's kind of like this grotesque figure, right? So it's got this really big face, big heavy drooping lips, because there's a lot of that brain area dedicated to our mouth, right? For both sensation as well as for speech and articulation. And then there's very big hands and very big feet and big genitals for obvious reasons, right? There's a lot of nerve endings there. And we want to be able to tell what these guys are doing, and we want to control them. Well, the upshot is, if I have massive sensory input and it's all saying, ow, stop, coming from my hands, that's going to change how everything else in my body is programming the movement. I have never had a good workout when my hands are hurting at the start. And if my hands start hurting during the workout, I will move to something else in order to avoid the problem, or I'll just stop completely and call it a day. I think that has been probably one of the biggest things that I've considered since I started training some of this stuff. Because I was young. I did a bunch of idiotic stuff. Still do. I'm sure I will do plenty more. But yeah, don't try to train through the hand pain. Build it up slowly. Respect what your body's telling you, and you'll make progress.
Well, I think that is a whole lot of information for people to digest. I have been literally around the world and seen lifting around the world. And you are one of the definite strongest people that's not in the super heavyweights that I've seen. And
Thank
so
you.
I think our viewers would be remiss if they didn't listen to your advice and what you've uh, gone through both as a physical therapist and as a competitive athlete in strongman, powerlifting, highland games, arm lifting. If they wouldn't heed some of the wisdom you just shared with us. So I'd like to personally thank you for that.
Oh, for
What
sure.
are your future goals as we wrap up the interview, Justin? What are your future goals regarding arm lifting in the next 6 months to a year? Do you have anything specific in mind?
Um,
And if the answer is no, that's fine too.
yeah, I don't know that I have anything specific in mind. I think I'd like to get my axle. Um, I'd like to be able to get that over 200 kilos consistently. I've done it a few times, but that one's pretty inconsistent for me just because of the hand position. I do need to train that one more. Um, and I want to take another crack at the anvil, the Rogue anvil. I want to see if I can get that one up. Training the grandfather clock for stage one. I was setting PRs on that and doing very well on that very early without any specific training, when having not touched any kind of vertical implement for a year plus. And so I think that Rogue anvil is in a good place to fit where I'm at right now.
All right. Well, that is super exciting. I really think that I hope to see you in action either in Orlando or at the Arnold Classic next year in person. And who knows, maybe the Rogue Anvil or Grandfather Clock, you'll have a chance to break some records in that, as well
We'll
as an
see.
axle. So yeah, Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and share all your knowledge. And I look forward to seeing you in person the next time.
All right. Take care, Ricardo.